Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Fangs with Twang. Check it out. All right. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Joe, Andy, and Billy from Fangs and Twang. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty
Excellent.
good.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks to you guys so much. I had to practice that. I was talking about it a little bit before we started because, you know, it's Fans with Bands, and I really want to say Fangs with Twang. And I was like, be sure to say and, you know. And
We
then
usually get the extra S is what we normally
yeah, and then we were talking about, because I said I live by Myers, which is Meyer, but I always add the S, you know, and it's always, it is Myers. I don't care.
Oh yeah. Till we die, it's gonna be Myers.
Myers and Kroger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
All the lovely Krogers.
I had to smile, you know, because I was, I can't remember like where I originally saw you guys, but I remember like probably the very first time was you guys opened up for Captain Ivory like years ago. I think it's called Ziggy's now, but it was then like
It was
Bonacera or something.
Bonacera, the basement. Now that's Bobcat Bonnie's upstairs, but it was Bonacera, and they did shows in the basement.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I just remember, you know, like seeing like, who is this band? Because I didn't know who you guys were, you know. And I thought the name, and then I was like, hey, all their songs are about monsters. What the hell is going on here? This is awesome. So anyway, it's taken me.
It's the monsters nobody's heard of.
Yeah, it's taken me way too long to get you guys on the show, but I just thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, and we've always appreciated your writing both about us, which is very flattering, but also about all the other bands you cover and all you do to promote the scene and music in general. So thank you, and we very much love being here today.
Cool. Well, thanks. So I like to go back a lot of times, you know, because most people don't even know who half the bands I'm talking to are. How did Fangs and Twang come to be? How was it born?
Who wants to take this one?
No.
So we were all members of a previous band, and we the gentleman that ran that other band was kind of going in a certain direction and doing some solo stuff and writing some things, and then so we were kind of joking one day at practice about writing monster songs, and I was like, man, you should write them in the style of country music. It would be hilarious. And like some coffee was puked on the floor and everybody laughed thing that we were singing, and then so it just kind of got put to the side, and then the leader of that previous band shifted gears and was working on some more solo stuff, so we all came to a loose agreement that he would change up the lineup and we would be free to go pursue and do what we wanted to do. So we took a big bag and grabbed as much art as we could.
I mean, really, I'd just say like the three of us, like, you know, so with the other band or whatever, like it's a every week band practice, but beyond that, it's a hang, you know.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And the three of us just love hanging together and, you know, having a few drinks or whatever and talking about music and then eventually playing music. And it was like, hey, why don't we just do this thing? You know, it's a good chemistry together, and, you know, and then the whole idea, the whole concept of, okay, let's do some monsters themed songs, but do them in the country style, which became country rock, which became country jam rock.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just keeps going. And so we're having a blast still.
I was like, I'm probably the least experienced musician in the band. So I was like, okay, if we got to move on, I definitely want Billy and Andy, because I think Andy can write a lot of songs. And Billy and I have been playing for now it's been 16 years, but at the time we've been in the rhythm section for like 9 years. And I'd also just been in Austin, Texas for like a week, and I'd seen a lot of Dale Watson shows. So I was like sort of feeling around the country. And so it sort of all just kind of came together from that. And yeah, once we started, we just have sort of built up a head of steam, and it's evolved, obviously, as all music can. But it's been a blast since the beginning.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys have been playing together for 16 years? Is that?
No, Billy and I have, because we started
Joe and I were in a previous band since 2007, and then we started doing the Fangs and Twang thing. Andy joined that band in like 2012. And then
Okay.
we kind of started doing Fangs and Twang stuff 2014, 2015.
Yeah, it's
and
been
then,
9 years.
So
Yeah.
yeah, all right. So 9 going on 10 then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know I've checked out your other albums, and I know you're in the process of working on a new one that's coming out in the fall.
Yes.
So I'm curious, how do you feel that those tunes compare to like the last album, Spirits and Chaser, in 2019?
I think it's kind of just like it's like with every album we've been doing, it seems like it's just kind of a continuation of the next one and not like repeating things, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like a familiar formula and we just keep adding to it. And as we play together and hang together, more of our musical influences and our personal likes kind of dump into it. And I think that kind of takes shape of the music over time. So like you'll hear Flourish as a country and some jam rock and some punk rock. And like I think this record seems like really like almost rock heavy, like a culmination of that kind of side of us. Like I don't want to say harder edge because we don't really have hard music, but it's more rocky than country.
Yeah, it's
Right.
more of a head rock record with
Yeah.
maybe a country song on it.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
always have like we love the fiddle and the mandolin and stuff. So it's like when it's just part of some of the stuff that we like to listen to. So it ends up in our music and it kind of gives it that little weird flavor.
Yeah, from what I've been able to listen to so far, I thought it sounded great, and but I did think it still got those elements of country music, but um, yeah, maybe a little bit more rock oriented.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
I
I'm
think it's
wondering.
also like the songs, previous records, like we've worked, we start writing the next record as soon as the previous one's done, but it's not like we sit down and woodshed it all at once. We just sort of write as we go.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these songs, because of the pandemic, didn't get as much played live. So there was a lot of these that we probably played live maybe a couple times, if at all. And so I think we found ourselves sort of finishing more of these ones right at the end. And I think another difference might be when we first started, that first record is a lot of straight story songs that are like mostly, very literally about a monster. And I think we've gotten much less about it. There's more political songs, much more personal songs, using sort of the monster as the template, as sort of the storytelling vehicle, but they're less like just literal story songs that are just about a monster, which I think was where we started.
Yeah, because you guys were cool enough to let me check out some of the music before it's been released, and there's a tune called "You Monster," which definitely is not about like it's about like a real monster,
Yeah. They're all over the place.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, wow, this is quite a turn. So kind of a two-part question. Like you obviously have like monster themes and you're keeping that in there. How hard is it to research new monsters? And two, is part of that evolution, trying to bring in a little bit more of a, I mean, were you consciously trying to make a more of a political statement? I mean, it's not a political song, I shouldn't say that, but it's more of a real life song. It's like looking at all these, the real life monsters around us. I guess where
Yeah,
were you trying to go with that one?
I'll take this one. So yeah, I wrote You Monster. So a lot of times what we'll do is, hear about this like certain kind of creature and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like Pope Lick Monster, for example, is like, oh, there's this thing that like lures its prey up onto a train track and then they get run over. Like that's a cool thing. So let's write about that. But with You Monster, that was just really just a song that just kind of came out, like especially at the time, like things that were happening, say
Yeah.
politically or whatever, and it was more just a song that I just kind of wrote, and then I believe in Bigfoot, I believe in all those
Yeah.
kind of things, just the method of getting the song out. But yeah, there is more of a message there than usual, so that's one that didn't start with the monster. It started with the idea or just the actual song and then kind of, shoehorned into our concept in that way. So yeah, usually it starts maybe more with the monster itself, but that one just kind of came organically.
Yeah.
And it's one of those songs where you just start writing it and it was literally just finished, It was like a 30-minute song.
He sent us a demo of that, like an acoustic recording. I'm like, are we doing this slow? He's like, no, we're doing it rocking. And the first time we played it in the garage, it was like fully formed. I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing.
So what
Yeah,
is it? Oh, go ahead.
there's no shortage. Like somebody will always give you a suggestion when they find out that you do like songs about monsters. They're like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
should check this monster out, or you should check, like write a song about this one, and that happens frequently.
So what is the songwriting process like for you guys? So, you were talking about coming in with this idea and then bringing it, together as a band and jamming it out and seeing how it works. Is that the normal process for you guys? Somebody comes in with a almost fully fleshed out idea, and the rest of you look at it and go, yeah, this works, or this doesn't? Or is it jamming and putting pieces together and go, oh, I like this and this and this?
I think it's all over the place, really. Like a lot of times, like I'm a drummer. I don't really play a lot of like stringed instruments or anything like that. So
Just a couple?
yeah, I just bash on things.
Not a lot of them.
And so like a lot of times when I have a song, it's just like about an idea of something that I want to write about, or some feelings that are wrapped up in a monster tale, and then bring it to the guys, and we flesh it out musically. Andy is like the maestro, so a lot of times he comes with words and music, which is really incredibly cool. and then it goes from there. But I think we all just kind of write a little bit different.
Yeah, probably the majority of them come from having a couple of parts, maybe a couple of riffs, or just a chord progression that maybe I'll be kind of banging around with, and then play that with the band. We start jamming on it, and then develop it into a song from there. That's probably how most of them happen. But then, yeah, it's not always the same way. Yeah. Particularly when Billy writes a song, he might just actually sing some of his ideas or whatever into a voice recording, and then I'll take that and maybe put some chords with it, or like the Boxed In was like, okay, this is kind of like a Kenny Rogers feel. Yeah. So yeah, we just kind of take it from there. So it's almost always collaborative. Cool. There's very few that are just like, I wrote this, let's play it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Boxed In, what the hell is that about? Because I was like, what is going on here?
So that is, and we've been shying away at gigs now because everybody's so tired about hearing about the pandemic. It was just a pandemic song. We we wrote, came up with the words, and it's basically a vampire who's, lamenting that he does not have access to all of the food and things that he needs as a vampire, because everybody's kind of shut in from the pandemic. So he's inside his coffin, just trapped in his crushed velvet walls, wishing that he could hook up with the young lady of the night that he had met previously, but she is now on lockdown. So he's quite sad about it. Thirsty.
It's like a lot of these monsters are pursuing the opposite sex as well.
Monsters need love too, man. Monsters need love.
Monsters in love. That's right. Oh man.
That's a
recurring theme.
I also really liked Incredible. That was really cool. So how did that come about? Who came up with that one?
Yeah, that one was me. I'm trying to think of how that one came about, actually. It might have been just something that I was, strumming on an acoustic guitar. I mean, there's definitely that, like, I have a weird connection with the Hulk, because when I was a kid, I loved the Hulk.
Yeah.
But I was also, like, as a, I don't know, third, fourth grader or something, I was scared of the Hulk. Like, I had this Hulk bank on my dresser when I was a little kid, and my parents had to, like, put it in the basement because I was scared of it, but I loved it.
Was it just the head?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember
just the head of the Hulk. Yeah.
I remember that.
And so I don't know, I was really into the Hulk, and then there was the 80s TV show. Yeah. And what I always remember from that was the end of this show where he's walking down the road, and then there's that, the music, which we kind of tease in the song. So it was like, oh, well, this is perfect, because the Hulk is a monster, and he has this melancholy kind of thing where he's always got to keep on moving, and he can't find any connection. So that was definitely where that one came from.
When we were I was listening to the mixes too, and I happened to notice that, like, when we write about really famous monsters, they're always green. So you have Godzilla, you have Swamp Thing, you have the Hulk. So it's definitely we have a type.
You heard it first here. We wrote Godzilla. That Blue Oyster Cult
Oh, I'm
recording.
sorry.
You heard it here first.
We embellished on a great song by Blue Oyster Cult called Godzilla.
That's right. I actually have Godzilla here.
Sweet.
So
but then we try to keep things like in some way humorous as well.
right.
So like, I don't know if it's like I crack myself up with the I rip my jeans line. I don't know if you're talking, there's that. Because the other thing about the Hulk when I was a kid is I had jeans that cut at the bottom and shredded so they could be like the Hulk jeans.
Jeans.
And he got mad and they ripped. And so I don't know, that line just silly. It just makes me laugh. Someone else gets that shit.
If Andy's mom is listening, please post a picture of this.
Yes,
please.
Yeah. How did you roll those jeans if it was back in the 80s? If they were shredded at the bottom?
No, that didn't start happening until late 80s or
you could tie them and make them tight.
Oh, yeah.
So, how did you guys get into let me start. What's each of yours like? Do you have a favorite monster? Like, I mean, so clearly, Andy, it sounds like maybe the Hulk, but do each of you have a favorite monster?
Like monster wise, I would probably say, I dig the Swamp Thing. He's probably one of my all-time favorites. Like a lot of the comics were really good. I love the movie when I was a kid with Adrienne Barbeau, and I don't know, just a lot of wrapped up in that guy over the years. So if I had to pick a favorite, like of all time, probably the Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing, awesome.
Throwing some hallucinogenic sweet potatoes out of his back. It's an interesting way to love someone. So go Swamp Thing.
I think I love going outdoors and backpacking and just being out in the wild and things like that. And so I think I love the ones that are more like Bigfoot or Nessie, because they sort of speak to we know a lot about the natural world. There's definitely things we don't know. And so those things are enough of they could be possible because this world mostly discovered and things like that. There's definitely places where there's new things always being discovered. So I think those things are interesting to me, that are these ones that could be real or more, they're less supernatural and more like some sort of natural being that could still be out there. And so I think there's an intrigue there, and that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
It is round, though. We do believe that it is round.
The Earth?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I do. Yeah.
This is round and flat. You mean?
Yeah.
It's just a half round,
like a big records. Right round.
Yes.
Right round.
So
heard it here first. I'm a flatlander.
Is the Hulk your favorite monster, or is it just a cool song?
I was trying to think about that, if I really do have a favorite or not. What's cool, I think, about writing these songs this way is learning about new stuff. There's a song on the new one called Melonhead, which is not really a monster.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because I was like, what the hell is Melonhead?
I think at the risk of being not very politically correct, there's something happening in West Michigan where they thought some creatures were sighted, but it turned out it was just some sort of kids facility of kids that all had hydrocephalus. And
they have really large heads.
I don't know how much of this is just legend and what is actually true, but it's one of those Wikipedia things that I came across at some point. It's like, okay, this probably deserves a song.
Legend of an Evil Doctor. There's a whole story. Like, what?
Yeah. But just coming across those things, that's kind of the cool part for me.
Yeah. Did you guys you might be old enough. Did you ever watch In Search Of?
Yes.
Didn't we sample it?
So without invoking any lawsuits, if you listen really close to Loveless and Loch Ness deep in the background, you can hear the sound.
Awesome. Yeah, because that's what I think of when I'm looking through all the different songs you guys have. I'm just like, yep, Pinhead, or there was another one. Did you guys do the Mothman? I think
No, we have not
you
done
haven't
slap.
done. Oh,
No.
you did some of the kind of like weird man that was like flying around.
We
I
did a
thought
dog man
Dog
song.
Man. Okay.
Uh, New Jersey Devil.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the New Jersey Devil. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it just it
Get
I
that monster either, but
every time I look through your guys' list of tunes, that's what I think of is In Search Of, and then Leonard Nimoy's here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
Histories of the Ancient Americas by Tom.
So how did you guys get into music? Was there a particular um person, a band, somebody in your life that influenced you and made you want to pick up an instrument and start playing it? And beyond that, because a lot of people do that, but they don't necessarily get into bands and play out. So, what was kind of the influencing for each of you guys? Who wants to go first?
I'll go
Andy.
first. I grew up in a very musical family. Like we like musical theater, classical music. Always just I was the youngest of four kids, so I got dragged to everything, which sometimes I didn't really like. But then later in life, I found I actually I do appreciate all the things I was exposed to. So yeah, just having that kind of ingrained in me, and then started playing instruments fairly early, and then I got a drum set when I was in middle school, and yeah, and then tried to start playing in bands like in high school, but nothing ever really materialized too much, and switched over to guitar at some point, and then just yeah, started meeting people, and then I've been playing in bands since the late 90s.
Oh, cool. Very
And
cool.
yeah, there hasn't really been a gap, just kind of hopping from band to band over the years.
Nice, nice.
I'll go
Joe.
next. This is Joe. I grew up with my dad was a piano player. He played in bands in like high school, but at home he always just played the piano. He'd put us up on the upright and always play. So we always were into music at the house. But I'm the opposite of Andy. I'm the oldest of five kids, and all of my siblings all played music. My parents say that I was asked and wasn't interested. I don't remember being asked, but maybe it's all worked out okay. In high school, I discovered like the local music scene in Chicago, and so once we could, even before we could drive, once I could drive, we were at 2 or 3 punk shows a week all over the city, driving to other cities. At the time, like my siblings all continued to play music, and all had been in bands and toured, even like not hugely, but they had all been in
Yeah.
bands and toured. And when my dad turned, I think he turned 50, he started like a party band, a family, like mostly cover rock band. And I went to see one of their shows in a garage, and I'm like, this is great. They don't have a bass player. Maybe I can play bass. Never played bass before, but my cousin, who has been in bands and toured, gave me a bass, and he's like, here's the notes. Here's what you should do, and just come play. So I learned from there, and I played a couple of shows, and then moved to Michigan, and wasn't playing all that much, but I got a call because a bunch of my neighbors were in this band that we mentioned previously, and joined there, and just haven't looked back since. That was like 2006, maybe,
Nice.
something like that. So about 16 or 17 years ago. So I was a little bit late to join the Club of Play Music, but prior to that, had been a huge music fan and promoted shows and booked a lot of shows in college and in different places.
Awesome. Very cool. Billy.
Um, let's see. When I was a kid, I got the album Kiss Alive and fell in love with listening to rock and roll music, and kept going. And then school band came, and my dad played the drums in the school band, and they wanted me to be in the school band. So he said, I was drummer, I have a drum, you can play the drums. And so I started playing the drums and said I want a drum set, and they were like, if you stay in the band till the 8th grade, we'll buy you a drum set. And so I did it and got a drum set. And then just throughout the years, I've had a bunch of cool friends with a bunch of cool guitars, and bang stuff out here and there. And I'm here today still playing music, and I'm still actually best friends with a lot of the people that I was in the school high school band with. So I just
Really?
saw a few of
Awesome.
them last week. So yeah, I just love music and can't get enough of it, and always want to play it, always want to be around it.
Your dad
Nice.
kept his drums from like grade school?
I still play. My snare drum is the snare drum that my dad played in high school. It's a Ludwig Acrolite snare drum. So I still
What?
use the
Really?
same snare drum. Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Holy
story.
cow, that's crazy. Wow. Oh, what?
Well,
I'm just curious, what high school was that?
so I went to I'm originally from Bay City.
Okay.
And so I went to my freshman year. I went to Bay City TL Handy High School, and then they closed it, and I went to Bay City Central High School and graduated in '93 as a Wolf. So
Nice.
here we
Go Wolves.
As a wolf, and that ties into the Wolfman now.
If you're ever looking for a co-host, Billy also did the high school radio show, and so he
All
made
right.
some tapes from there, and it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
amazing to hear high school Billy.
Amazing is one word for it. Oh,
Oh man, that's awesome.
yeah, we had a high school radio station. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, what kind of music were you playing? What you
We
wanted?
play rock, alternative. We used to actually. The cool thing was we would get collect. We got in trouble. We had to stop taking collect calls from the Bay County Jail because they were calling requests like stuff. So we were like, "Here's Slayer going on to the whoever, no more collect calls." That's cool. Yeah, like it was the early '90s, so it was shifting right from like metal to we would get all the promo CDs we would get in would be like Pearl Jam and Rage Against the Machine, and
Yeah.
it was a cool time to be on the radio.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, just in general, it would be fun. It still is fun, but
Oh yeah, just hang out after school for a couple hours and just do the thing in the studio and then go mess around with your friends.
yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna guess, but I could be wrong. Did any of you have like country music as like something you grew up with? How did you get into playing country music?
Yeah, my dad has always been a country music fan. I mean, just the classics,
Yeah.
Hank Williams Sr., Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely where I got my country influence from. And then I started playing mandolin like in the early 2000s with a band called Back 40.
Okay.
And kind of like learned, just wanted to get more into that style of music. So I kind of discovered bluegrass from there.
Okay. Yeah. Bluegrass is, I always think of that as like the heavy metal of country music.
My family
it's
were all
fast and frenetic, and just
rude.
yeah.
Tons of my family country music. A lot of
Yeah.
Alabama and Buck Owens and Red Sovine and the Phantom 309, like weird old trucker stuff that like
Yeah.
people would listen to and stuff. So, and my polka music,
Oh, cool.
old polka music.
So Joe, did you have any country music in your background?
I mean, my parents listened to some of the classics, but I wouldn't say it was a particularly strong presence. They were probably more of like rock and roll. My dad was big Beatles and Stones fans and things like that.
Okay. All right.
But the band we were in prior was sort of a rock and bluegrass kind of a band, so I think that probably got me a little bit more exposed to that as well.
Nice. So, has there been an album that could be more recent or way back that if somebody's like, if you start talking about music with friends or family or whoever or somebody you just meet, and you go, oh man, this is an album you need to check out, what would that be? And,
I always tell people about Los Lobos Kiko.
nice.
Familiar with that Los Lobos at all?
Yeah. They just played in Ann Arbor.
I know, and I missed it. I was out of town, but I've seen them a bunch of times.
Yeah. I think I saw that. Did they play at Eric Clapton's Crossroads years ago?
Could be.
Yeah. I think I know I've seen him once, but yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Joe, how about you?
Oh, I got to think about this. I mean, I'm not quite sure right now. I'll think about it.
All right. Billy, do you know?
In your time, Bill.
Yeah, if I had to tell somebody to go check something out, I mean, it would probably be selfishly something that I would like a lot. So, like two standout albums of like on my all-time list would be Willie Nelson, The Redheaded Stranger, and Frank Zappa, Apostrophe, which are pretty much kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, but like,
opposites.
yeah, but those are two like in probably my top 10 favorite all-time records. So.
Awesome.
All right, I'll go with the one I first thought of when you asked the question, because that's usually what I do. And so it's one I just remember like the Minutemen, Double Nickels on the Dime. It's like 40 songs. They're all like under a minute. Mike Watt was probably like one of the first bass players that I really loved. So I'd probably say I am influenced him as a bass player, but I loved him way before I even thought about playing bass.
Yeah.
And I loved them because they were, I think the songs were just grooving, but they kind of were like pretty eclectic and pretty, they fit and played in sort of within the punk and the DIY scene, but they were definitely not sort of straightforward punk and pretty interesting from that perspective. So that's definitely a record that I've been listening to forever. And I think my one of my uncles gave me that record when I was a kid.
Oh, really? Awesome. That's cool. So what was the last album that you were listening to that you really liked, or streamed, or however? Because I know a lot of people. Well, a lot of people now are buying vinyl, but Billy, how about what was the last one you listened to that you really enjoyed?
The one that that was getting played ad nauseum that my family got pissed at was I can't even think of I can't never get their name straight. King Gizzard and the Electric Wizard.
And the Lizard Wizard.
And the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah.
It's the one with like the beige cover, has like Omnium. It starts out with dripping tap. They have like 23 albums or whatever. The one that starts with dripping tap, I think it's kind of like a purplish like color. That probably I would listen over and over again. That and there's a record, I think it's like Robert Palmer's first record, and it has
Robert Palmer.
Alley with Sally.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, that was like got stuck. For some reason I heard a song off of it and then like couldn't stop listening to it. And yeah, that one got banned in my house too.
We started playing.
Yeah, we started playing it in the garage.
Got to figure out how to make that a monster song.
Oh yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's alley for the alley.
Scary situation.
Yeah. Andy, how about you?
I don't like one thing I've been doing a lot lately is I've been listening to the Three Kings, so BB King, Albert King, and Freddie King. I mean, I always thought like, oh, the blues, it's just so basic, you know, and it's like, oh, I know how to play the blues. I can play the, pentatonic scale.
Yeah.
But I've been like inserting myself a little bit deeper and like actually listening to the way that these guys phrase, and they don't just play a billion notes and, they play 3 notes, but that they put all their emotion into it. So I've been trying to like really immerse myself a little bit more in that and figure out really what's going on there. And hopefully that like is, making me a little bit more soulful and not just like playing the same patterns on the guitar neck all the time.
Yeah, so I started off as trying to play as many notes as possible. Being in a heavy metal band, just play fast, just do it. It's got to be, whatever. And yeah, that is something that I've been getting into more and more is like old blues players, because I clearly, well, 2 things. I noticed that my chord playing sucks, as far as like doing partial chords and staying in time. Because I spend all my time trying to play as fast as possible, and just note choices and being able to. It sounds cliche to when somebody says, "Oh, he made it with 1 note he did X, Y, and Z," as opposed to 50 million notes. But sometimes that's true. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go listen to some more Kings, because I've been listening to a newer King, which is Marcus King.
Oh yeah, Marcus King's great.
Yeah. And that guy, yeah, which
he's got a great voice too.
Yeah, that too. Joe, how about you?
I'm ready now. Thanks for making me go last, because that gave me some time. Although I could have actually gone right away. I had an answer. I think it was October or November of this past year. I was flying to Philly for a job interview. I recently left my job of 15 years, so it's kind of a transitional big moment in my life. And I was looking to see who was playing there, and I saw that this band Planes was playing, and I recognized that it was Katie from Waxahachie was one of the persons, and Jess Williamson, the 2 songwriters that come together to write that record. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go check that out. And on the way there, I listened to it on the plane, and I was like, oh man, these lyrics are freaking awesome. And then I went to the interview, kind of knew I wasn't going to get it, but it was still a great experience. And I went and saw them play that night, and it just blew me away. And I just have been listening to that record ever since. And I think for me, it like really spoke to like the emotional part of it really spoke to me, and the lyrics spoke to me of where I was. But then I got to see them right away, sort of in the same day of sort of listening to them and seeing them live. Because previously I always got into bands through seeing them live. Like if I saw them live, I would just be hooked if the energy was right. And
Yeah.
more recently, I've been much more into the lyrics of things rather than just sort of the energy or the vibe. So that they kind of combine both because I got to see a great live show and hear, and the lyrics really spoke to me. So they've been
Awesome.
on repeat since then.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. Have you ever been bummed out when you go like you see a band and then they're really cool and then you buy their album and it is not as good? Like just lacks the energy? Have you ever run into that?
It's usually the opposite, like of a band. I mean, there's definitely been bands where I thought this is going to be a party live, and then have it be totally underwhelming live. And so I think that's more of the thing. And usually, like I can, if I like them live, I can sort of be into what they're doing on record and acknowledge like those two things are different mediums.
Yeah. Yeah.
The band Cults, which I forget what year the record came out, but they put on like they had a really sort of pop dance record that was just a party on record. And we saw them at the Magic Bag in Ferndale, and it was like so boring. And like you could tell they were just playing the same set without energy. I'm like, this should have been like freaking party. I did. All right,
Right. Shots fired.
We were dancing around the bush on all these other bands and not naming names, but I'm fucking naming names. So I don't think they're around, and I don't think it's going to harm us. So.
They're so bad they don't even exist.
But I'm glad no one else is being honest on this stuff.
That's funny. uh, so, shit. I know I was laughing. I forgot where I was going to go. Oh, so as far as like, for you guys, Fangs and Twang, if you could play anywhere in the world, any venue, what would that venue be for each of you? And who would you like to have on the bill with you? Let's maybe start with Andy.
Okay, well, I mean, my favorite venue, at least that I've been to, is Red Rocks. I mean, it's famous.
Yeah.
It's just it's an incredible. Like you get into Colorado, you feel like you're on a different planet. Like you're up in the altitude, so like maybe you're just a little bit lightheaded in general. But then there's just like the way that the whole venue is just part of the landscape.
Yeah.
Is just incredible. So I would definitely love to play there. I've visited, like you can actually tour the place when there's not concerts and stuff too, and almost get on the stage. So kind of know what that might feel like. But and who would we play with? I mean, I don't know. I do like so I'm the guy in the band that likes the jams, So I'm a big follower of the band Fish. I
all right.
got back from seeing them at, last weekend, 2 shows.
How many shows have you got? I know you want to share this.
I mean, I've seen 50 shows, but that's in the Fish world, that's not a lot. That's not a lot in the Fish world, but
that's true.
Since started in '98, and I've been hooked ever since. So,
oh, man.
I would like to play with those guys, but there's no way I would play after them. So we're going to be
right. That's true.
I mean, yeah, I think it's like the thing that's great. There's a lot of things that's great about Fish, but it's just there's so many different aspects, and humor is one of them, and being really serious about the music but being completely not taking yourself seriously. And so that's definitely things I think that I've either brought into the band or that have just been part of our band all the entire time. It's got to be like humorous, we have to be having a good time with it, but we do like try to lay some shit down from time to time and take our music seriously.
All right.
But not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think first thing that came to mind for me was the Metro in Chicago. It's just a place where I've seen so many shows, having grown up in Chicago and seen so many, in the formative years or when you're really into music. So I picked that place. And I think, I guess I would go with, I mentioned a lot of my siblings had been in bands and some still are. So I think it'd be like a family review with my family, past and present bands coming together to play a show. Only because if that could happen and people would show up and fill the Metro, then that would be like a really good thing. So how those things all aligned. If we're able to do some fantasy here, then that would be a pretty cool thing to experience.
Yeah, hell yeah. Billy.
Well, growing up as a little rock and roll kid, I would probably have to say anywhere in Japan. I think it would be sweet to go to Japan. Um, and as far as like who we would play with, um, I mean, there's tons of like fantasy people. If that was actually something realistic that we would go do, I would like to find some of our friends that are in a band around here or a couple bands and go that way and be like, welcome to where we're from. Check this out. That would be ultimately cool for me. Like not playing with like any sort of superstar band, but like playing with like taking an entourage of us and maybe a couple bands from the Michigan area and hitting Japan and doing it. So and that's totally realistic. Hopefully before I die. So
Yeah, that would
let's
be
plan that.
awesome.
I'm on board with going to Japan. Let's start working on that.
Yeah.
Can you hook us up?
Yeah, I'll
Even
try.
big in
What the
Japan,
hell?
I want to be like, small potatoes in Japan.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
But if we could do Budokan and have like a live record like Cheap
Yeah.
Trick, that would be cool.
Dude, we need to find a club that's next to Budokan and then be like live at Fred's.
Next to Budokan.
Live at next to Budokan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next to Budokan.
Awesome. That would be fantastic. So the new album is coming out sometime in the fall, right? What else is going on with Fangs and Twang? Any shows?
We've been a
coming
little bit quiet for the last 7 or 8 months in terms of live shows, but because we've been focusing on the record and just but that's done, and we'll be kicking it up. When is this coming out? I don't want to talk about stuff that's happening in the past.
This will be like probably in September.
Okay. So yeah, so we'll be picking up head of steam in terms of live shows here in August, and we're looking forward to releasing the record in the fall. Probably, hopefully, gonna print some vinyl. I'm just gonna say it that way; it has to happen.
Yeah.
We've been doing CDs and online releases for the last 3 records, but you don't really see much of a need to print CDs anymore. And
This
so,
will be the first record.
Oh
yeah,
man.
I always hate like our CD's gonna come. I was like, don't say CD, say record. Even if it's only on CD, just say record. So we will hopefully have some vinyl for this one coming out. But we'll be doing release shows, hopefully definitely Nipsey and a couple other places. And
Yeah, we do have a Original Gravity happening in September, so that's a brewery in Milan. We're
Yep.
playing at. That's September, right?
September 30th, we're playing
Yeah.
the fest in Nipsey on October 7th. We're gonna go
October 28th, we're going to be on a showcase show at BMO's in Bay City with Slumlord Radio, Witchfish, and the Fukushima Daisies too. So keep your
Oh,
calendar.
awesome. That'll be cool. Oh, that'll be really cool.
That lineup's gonna make us sound like a country band because that's like a grunge sort of rock lineup, right?
It's
Yeah,
going to
well,
be
yeah, I'm trying to think. So yeah, that's
Slumlord
pretty,
Radio rocks and Witchfish rocks, and the Fukushima Daisies are pretty cool too. So
yeah, that's gonna be an eclectic show actually, because
fun.
yeah.
It'll be a Halloween party.
Oh man, that'll be
Yeah, so
fun.
we're just looking forward to. I think in the last couple of years we've been playing a lot of like sort of bar gigs where we play the whole night, and I think we're looking forward to getting out and sort of playing more multi band gigs and connecting with some new bands and just sort of getting out in some new rooms. I think the pandemic was sort of limiting in terms of where we could go and
For
where
sure.
we could play and things like that. And I think we're still sort of looking to move beyond that and looking forward to getting out there and trying some new places out.
Tired of scratching at the crushed velvet walls, ready to get out of the box, do some stuff.
Well, we'll always be playing every week in Billy's garage.
Oh, yeah.
So, stop by there,
Ride your little pedal bike or motor scooter
ride
down
down cross street, keep an ear out, and you'll probably hear us.
Awesome. So do you actually do play in the garage?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Year round.
Yeah.
Really? Year round?
Yeah, in the winter we set up a Dexter murder room too. It turns into 400 square feet of violence.
We'll try to crack whatever heat inside that we can.
We can get it up to about 52, and which is open up the rocks. So
Oh man.
Even when we don't, if we're not playing a lot of shows out live, we have a little live from the garage video series we try to put up on my YouTube channel. Keep the content coming out that way. So
Oh man. So if you guys could go talk with anybody, alive or dead, who would you like to talk to, and what would you like to talk to them about?
Oh man, this is a deep one.
That's just deep thoughts. Boom. Who wants to go first? Joe?
Yeah, I guess I'd probably pick one of my ancestors that came over on a boat. It was all my great grandparents on both sides, and a couple of them came from, some of them came from Ireland, some from Italy. So I think just to understand where they were and where they came from and what they, I mean, that's, some of them
Yeah.
were young, right? So that's
Yeah.
just to understand what that was like, and what some of them probably didn't even make that choice, right? So they were probably sent over, and but obviously with the hopes of much greener pastures over here. So I think that would be interesting to talk to, and
Yeah, for sure.
that was like.
Well, what time frame was that? Do you know?
It was my great grandparents, so I don't know exactly. I can't calculate the years, but it was two or three.
1800 something.
Yeah, probably late 1800s.
Nice. Very cool. Did they come? Oh, and you were originally from Chicago, so they went to Chicago.
Yeah, most of them have been in that area. I mean, some of them ended up a little bit more like in the West, but yeah, they've largely, my family has been in Chicago, and I've got, hundreds of relatives there in that area from both sides of my family.
Cool. Excellent. Billy.
Not really have anybody in particular. Probably just it's a handful of deceased relatives I might like to talk to one more time. Just tell them everything's good, everything's going well for everybody, and we miss them.
Nice. Very nice. Andy.
You can't say family because we sort of like wrote that.
Yeah. No, you can.
Like some sort of figure, or
Gotcha, sucker.
maybe a member, maybe some prominent jam band member.
Why don't you go see what Abraham Lincoln up to or something? Okay.
That's one I was like, okay, which dead president? So like, what really happened, JFK? What were you rapping?
Tell me the deal.
That's all I got. I don't
Did you
know.
trust your CIA? Were they on your side or what?
Yeah. Oh man.
That's all I got. Yeah.
We covered.
What was the very first horror movie you saw as a kid?
Jeez.
Do you remember?
I think it was like Friday the 13th. It was the first thing I can remember really seeing. And just like being absolutely terrified. Which is hilarious because I like watching Friday the 13th now just for yucks. I mean, it was hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy, but I definitely remember being absolutely terrified and having to sleep on my parents' floor. Man, this is a recurring theme about how frightened I was as a child. First the Hulk, then Jason.
Then you realize that they hid the Hulk head under the bed, and you're like, yeah.
No.
Those are shredded, but there's something else.
Sharded. I remember watching it. That may not have been the first one, but it's a memorable moment. It was like a sleepover with some cousins, and for some reason, like it was either on cable, it probably was on a video, but it was somehow like a messed up version of it, so you couldn't really see it clearly, but somehow it was still terrifying.
I used to watch Cinemax that way. It was kind of
yeah, kind of scrambled. You're like, oh, I could kind of make out something there.
I remember that movies that scared the hell out of me when I was a kid that I saw at too young of an age, and one was some trauma movie called Mother's Day, which was this ridiculous, like, and then the other one was Helter Skelter, the Charles Manson murders.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why that scared me so bad when I was a kid. Literally, like you're talking about sleeping on the floor. Like I remember trying to like wash my hair with my eyes open. I don't know why Charles Manson was so scary, but I was really young. I probably shouldn't have let me watch that movie.
Was that like a documentary? Or
it was like a weird made-for-TV story.
Yeah, it was like a made. Yeah, I remember
he was
that.
in the courtroom and he would like freak out and just
yeah.
I remember there was a copy of the book in my house.
Oh,
and
I read that.
It had pictures in the middle
of
like
shit.
the murder scenes and stuff. I remember looking at that. That was pretty freaky too.
Oh my god. Yeah, I was probably a teenager, but it was The Exorcist. And that just freaked me out. I still can't really watch that movie because it's fucking like that shit's real, man. That's not.
Movie's disturbing.
that
watch
movie's
though all the time. Like my buddy, my dad would like he'd come to his mom and dad or his dad's house every other weekend. So it was like, hey, rent a bunch of videos and get pizza. So we would rent like every like slasher movie that we could rent from the video store. So it was like all the Friday the 13th, all the Nightmare on Elm Street, all those ones we watch all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like you said, they were, they're shocking, but then also just like fun, Evil Dead was sort of like that way too. Although that was a little freaky too sometimes, but that was
That was
good.
Bruce Campbell, right?
Yeah,
Evil.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Which I think
Yeah,
was
there's some good comedy in that. I mean, Freddy Krueger was hilarious. He
oh
had all these
yeah.
quips and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait till my kids get the guts to watch. I think the best horror movie for kids is Poltergeist.
Oh yeah.
'Cause there's nothing really nasty in Poltergeist.
No.
It's just scary and So like,
Mhm.
yeah, when I'm ready to stay up for like 2 weeks straight, I'd be like, you want to watch a scary movie?
Ready to have someone else in my bed for 2
I know
weeks.
my kids. Oh, you're obsessed with the 80s, huh? Well, this is what we watched in the 80s. Now go to sleep.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on Fans with Bands. I have just one last question, and that is pineapple or no pineapple on pizza, Billy?
Mm. I am a huge pineapple on pizza fan, but I'm going to edit and say you don't put ham in pineapple. You put pineapple, bacon, and red onion, and you get Cajun crust.
Oh.
And I'm saying no more. I weigh 270, so go ahead and try me.
I'm fine with pineapple on that, but I also had a chicken shawarma pizza for dinner tonight, and they had pickles and beets and garlic sauce. So yeah, I'm like whatever you want to put on there, it's fine.
Awesome.
I grew up in Chicago where we love our pizza, and it's not the thick crust that we like. We love the tavern style, and so I love making pizza. I've been chasing my tavern style recipe for years, and I finally got it dialed in. So I love all sorts of toppings on pizza. I love sausage jardinera. That's great on a thin crust, but I'm also totally fine with pineapple, and I think there's a time and place for all those things.
Good man.
But I don't like Michigan pizza, though. I will say that. So I would not want it on a Michigan pizza.
A Michigan. So
Like,
what?
lots of dough, too much dough.
Oh,
You know?
too much. So that's a Michigan pizza. Too much dough. Because I'm trying
Yes.
to think, what is Michigan pizza?
It's got to be done. I think that's that square style with it.
No, not
Oh,
Detroit.
the
not
Detroit- the
more like
Detroit style?
generic- No, I'm actually down with Detroit style. I think I'm not down with like Aubrey's style. I'm calling out Aubrey's.
Oh, man, that's it. No
Everything-
sponsorship.
including the pizza crust, man. We're all a little bit doughy.
No,
Just get used to it.
but real quick, I was another song that I've been working on, which is a monster song, but isn't directly related to monster. It's just called, it's talking about living in a world full of monstrous things. And then it goes on to list things that really aren't all that monstrous. And one of them is, there's a line, pineapple pizza nearly brought you to the brink. Don't know what to do in a world full of monstrous things. So tie it all together.
Awesome. Awesome.
You got to finish that one, yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks again, guys, for being on Fans with Bands. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. It was
Yeah,
a
Thanks for
pleasure.
doing this, and it's so great to know folks are out there like you doing, supporting and promoting, and it's makes the scene what it is, and it's so great to have you. So thank you so much, and
Thanks, man.
look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, man. All right. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Take it easy.
All right. Many thanks to Joe, Andy, and Billy for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. It was great to catch up with the guys in Fangs with Twang and learn all about this wonderful band. I love how they make seriously fun music. If you get a chance, go see them live on October 7th at Ziggy's in Ypsilanti. Keep an eye on all things Fangs with Twang at their website and socials. See the show notes for all the details and links. These are tough times for everyone in the creative industries such as music. Your support of live streaming, purchasing music, and merchandise is critical. If you can help out your local artists, please do. If you are in the Michigan area, consider following the Playing in the Detroit Area Tonight Facebook page. It is a place for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show and leaving a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.